Welcome to the weekly Q&A with Dr. Gray. During this show, Dr. Gray will take questions from the audience and answer them for you. Please share this out with all of your friends and family across all social media platforms. And now, let's welcome Dr. Gray.
Hey everybody, we have a great show today. One of the big questions that women, when they're frustrated, they'll say, why doesn't he change? How do I get him to change? Why does he keep doing that? He keeps doing that. Why does he forget? So the topic today is he doesn't change, and why does he not change, and what works to get him to change. Now that's a secret that you'll learn about in my new book, For Women Only, for sure, and the whole series of books that eventually will come out on For Women Only, on how you can motivate a man, how you can bring out the best in him. But so many times women go, I shouldn't have to do that. I shouldn't have to do that. But see, you have to realize we have to grow up. And part of growing up is being responsible for the results we get. And it's just that women don't understand men. Is that men are not designed to immediately change. Men are designed to keep repeating something unless it's broken, then fix it. And so men will tend to be grounded and steady, and it doesn't feel loving to a man if you try to change him. You know, one of my best definitions of love, and of course it's from the male perspective, is to delight in the presence of your partner without any intention or motivation to change them. I mean, why can't we just love each other the way we are? But that is the big challenge in relationships, is that we can't just accept what we have. Particularly women, they always want more. And some men, Mariah, thanks for joining us. Everybody, thanks for coming in. You know, the nature, Kayla, good to see you. Welcome. The nature of life is to want more. And men will go, why does she want more? Why is it never enough? Well, why is it in men that we want to have more success? We want to make more money. We want to have more time for ourselves, more freedom. You know, and clearly today, we always want more freedom. And we've got this government that's taking away your freedom every day, one little niche. I just look at my property taxes going up again and again and again. I just feel so bad for all the retired people who have a fixed income and all this inflation, along with having to pay property taxes on a house that they bought. This is just unfair. This is, you know, the Constitution says you should be able to own your own property. That was the whole idea, is that we're no longer slaves in the world. We're able to own our own property. You work hard, you earn your property. Another thing I just heard recently, I'll just throw in at the beginning of my talk, I'll get there, on how to get men to change and why women don't let go. Women keep remembering the mistakes men make, and you know, they hold back, they resent, they suppress, they get triggered, and then they can tell you 15 things you did wrong. And what is going on in women's brains? What's going on in men's brains? We're gonna look at that. But first, I want to share a new idea that I was just made aware of. Gigi, thanks so much. Somebody was just talking about one of the guys I watch online, and he was just so tired because of all the lies, lying is one of the most destructive things in relationships. And unfortunately, you know, for most couples, there'll be the big lies aren't happening, but it's the little lies. And often men are concerned about, you know, how my wife's going to react if I say this. She gets so temperamental, she's so sensitive and whatever. So I don't want to say what's going on. It's a little thing. It was like a friend of mine, he had ice cream and his wife is upset with him because he's eating too much sugar. He says, yes, I want you to help me. And then she catches that he's eating some ice cream in one of the bills. And she gets all upset about that. And you know, but what she's really upset about is not just that he had some ice cream, it's that he wouldn't cop to it. He wouldn't say, yeah, I just messed up. That was it. He didn't apologize, or he didn't point out he made a mistake. It was all it is. You're afraid to point out we make mistakes to our partners because we're afraid of their disapproval and their rejection, and then they'll give us a lecture. And so we have to learn how we can stop lecturing our partner, how we can stop disapproving our partner, how we can make it safe for men to own up and show their mistakes they make, and for women to let it go, okay? Because women will just hold on to these things. How do you let it go? How do you And part of why women can't let it go is that they don't trust, okay? But if your partner has little lies and is hiding things, it's hard to trust. So we're going to cover those issues today. But just, I want to come back to this talk. I mean, he listed out, a good 15, 20 things. I mean, we've got I forget those files, of the, I don't know what words I can say without being canceled. I mean, that's the big thing. You can't even tell the truth online. You can't even have a discussion. You'll be taken off. I mean, this is really a lack of free speech. So one of our things is free speech, and we're losing free speech every day in the name of hate speech. Well, why can't you say hate speech? You have to be able to say that. That's part of the truth. And then people can come and disagree with you and say, don't talk that way. That's their voice to say that. They can hate you for saying that. But we need to have freedom of speech. We're not like children and we're supposed to be controlled. This is the whole idea of freedom, is the ability to speak your mind and have other people speak their mind and say, you're full of it. You're wrong. That's not right. That's how arguments can happen. Positive arguments, two sides of a point of view. You can choose what you want to believe, but you need to hear everything. We can't speak. Well, the same thing in relationships. We need to be able to speak. We need to express ourselves. It's very important. If I can't express myself, how can I know what I think? There's an old saying, I think, therefore I am. For me, I have to write to know what I know. I have to speak to know what I know. And of course, for women, it's even more important when it comes to their feelings. When they have negative emotions, they need to talk about them to gain an objectivity to sort them out and realize, okay, well, that's over extreme. That's overreaction. That's kind of cruel. That's not very nice. That's too bitchy, whatever. This is like, you have to be able to sort things out. You have to see it. You have to make the mistake. It's interesting. I did a wonderful interview with the man who was, when I was a younger man, I was a monk for 9 years, and I was a student, actually the personal assistant and one of the number one students and teachers of transcendental meditation, of the Maharishi, who the Beatles had gone to India and got very popular, and people always say, well, did you ever meet the Beatles? I went, no, they had just left after I arrived. So, but I was very happy. It was a big part of my life, had a great teacher and so forth. And what I got to experience is truth. Somebody who freely spoke the truth and was happy and was fulfilled, and there was good communication. That's what we all need in our lives, is the ability to communicate what's true. I really don't know how I got off on that. Oh, here it was. So in the interview I just did, one of the teachings of the Maharishi was that if you meditate and you get to the ground of being, he would call it being, and that's me, my being, our authentic self is being, or that which is existence, the universal intelligence, which has infinite organizing power to love and support you if you open your heart up to it. So there's a lot of positive messages over there, and one of the messages he gave was that when you're grounded in the absolute, are grounded in the source. Okay, we have more modern terms for it now, the source, authentic self, the divine truth. When you're anchored in that, what that is that allows you to have right action. And see, people misinterpret that to mean that one is supposed to be, everything you do is right. This is why these spiritual teachings can be easily misinterpreted. And I think they were quite impressed because I had a different spin on it, which was when you're connected to the self or the source, the source of your thoughts, the source of your feelings, the authentic self, which is one with the ocean of universal intelligence. We can connect into that. That's who we all are. That's what's running this whole body. So when we connect into that, then we have the ability to have right action. It doesn't mean that everything we do is right action. It means we have the ability to self-correct and recognize our mistakes, because it's only the higher intelligence can point out to you that you've just done something that's a mistake. That's how you know. And how you know you've done a mistake, how you know that your actions or your beliefs or your thinking that's creating your actions, how do you know that your thinking is off? You have to have a higher intelligence. You have to shine a light on it and be able to say, well, that's a mistake. And what's the indicator? What's the indicator is our negative emotions. When you do something, you feel ashamed afterwards, that's your soul saying, you're better than that. You can do better than that. That's the wrong direction. When you're afraid and you're feeling anxiety, it's your soul saying you've got some negative beliefs that you don't deserve and you can't achieve and you don't deserve to be loved or accepted just the way you are today. That's your soul telling you. So it creates that fear inside of you. And when you're feeling down and depressed or sad or hurt, basically that's your soul telling you that they're thinking that nobody loves you and you'll never have what you want and you can't be happy again. That's your soul. That is limited thoughts. That's not the whole truth. That's only a piece of the truth. The way you want to do is expand it out. And then when you're feeling angry, for example, or you're feeling frustrated, it's your soul coming in, giving you that negative emotion to say, hey, you're believing that you can't get what you want right now, or that you don't deserve to have what you want right now, and you're trying to push to get it. You deserve it. You know, it's so interesting. If you think of yourself as the CEO of a company, you're in charge of everything, you're in complete control, right? And somebody says something to you, you don't get upset because you're in control. You only get upset when you feel like I'm losing control. And when you get out of losing control, then you swing into another sort of defiant, I deserve more, which is okay. You're at least bringing your awareness to the need to affirm that I do deserve more and I can have more and I am not powerless. I can achieve what I want. It's just not what I thought, okay? You have to adjust your expectations. So all of these sort of negative emotions, if you can be aware of them and not act on them, then you create positive change in your life. You create self-correction. And that's how we learn to self-correct, is by recognizing we have these negative emotions, something about me is wrong. And guess what? If I feel my negative emotions, the brain will automatically begin adjusting with this infinite intelligence that it's hooked into. It will begin adjusting your thinking quite quickly so that you're aligning with what's true and what's real and what's possible. It will align you to that so that you will stop feeling the pain. The whole idea of pain, emotional pain. If you have physical pain, you got to feel the pain for your brain to go there and do what it needs to do to heal the body. So the same thing with emotional pain. And when you have emotional pain, that's negative emotions. And there's all kinds of feelings that we can have, but the ultimate healing negative emotions are frustration, disappointment, concern, worry, it goes along with that one, embarrassment. These are stress reactions. These are all stress emotions. That's moderate stress. And then you have cortisol, fight or flight. You have anger. You have sadness. You have fear, being afraid. You have regret or feeling sorry. And then if it's all the way back here to your fight or flight, to your survival part of the brain, the unconscious part of the brain, that part of us that's in all of us, all the way back to our animal brain. They often call this part of the brain the lizard brain. No compassion, no anything, no love, no feeling, nothing. It's just survival. We got to be in survival, eye for an eye. See, when you live in a world of eye for an eye, you're in survival mode. You're not in compassion. You're not in the possibility of forgiveness. You're not in the possibility of changing reality. All you're in a situation when you're in an eye for an eye is just to keep creating the problem over and over. This was Gandhi's big revelation. He's famous for it, which is, if you have an eye for an eye, everybody eventually will go blind. You got to step out of it. And the only way you can step out of it is take responsibility for when somebody mistreats you, how do you take responsibility for what did I do? What did I say? How did I interact to get that response? And then change how I respond back and forth. Right now we've got this war. It's just tit for tat. You do this to me, I'll do that for you. You do this for me, I'll do that for you. And the nonsense which is being stated, which is, we're just going to keep doing that. That's what the president said. We're just going to keep doing that until they negotiate. Such lower mentality. You have to realize politicians have very low level of consciousness, very low level of consciousness. And at a certain point, they might come in with a higher level of consciousness, but in order to survive, in order to pay their bills, they have to have people who give them the money to get elected. And as long as you have to have money to get elected, the lobbyists will control you. The people who support you financially will control you. We have a captured government by wealthy people. That's all there is to it. And we have to wake up to that. But how do we start waking up to it? Is we start to have accountability in our own relationships for change to take place. And here are women recognizing, men, How do you get a man to change? Okay, so wanting him to change is not loving. Okay, so you can be loving someone and want them to change, but how do you support their change? Because if you go to someone with the intention to change them, I'm going to say this, I'm going to express negative emotions to change you, probably the worst communication skill in history. It destroyed all relationships as far as I'm concerned. It's this one simple concept that everybody learns in Psychology 101. It's what women are all taught, and then men are expected to do it because women are taught to do it. And we have this whole cult of feelings, which is that if I'm going to get you to change, I have to suffer. You hurt my feelings, therefore change. As opposed to, when you said this, I prefer you do this. This is what I would like. I would like you to do this. not, I'm so upset at you, you should change. All negative emotion I explain negative emotion from the higher point of view. It's your soul telling you your thinking is wrong. However, as a primitive being, as an animal, my dog growls at me if I try to take away a bone. She'll show teeth if you try to take away a bone. So you have that growl is, I'm controlling, I'm angry, and I'm going to bite you, okay? So you better change. Negative emotions are all manipulative. If you use them to change your partner, they're manipulation. And there was a time in the world where our consciousness was so low that everything was manipulation. What was it? Might is right. It's a big theme. If I'm more powerful than you, then I'm right. If I have the power, then I'm right. And there's people who think that way. This is low-level consciousness, survival-level consciousness. And then you have higher consciousness. And at higher consciousness, right is might. Do the right thing and you have the power. The power comes to you when you do the right thing. And the power to create the relationship of your dreams comes when you do the right thing. But you're all being taught, and it's also instinctive. See, it's an instinct that just got validated, which is the instinct is, I'm suffering, so you should change. And see, it's based upon kind of a reality, which is that when I can hear my wife suffering, for example, if I'm not being blamed, if she's not using suffering to change me, I will change. And that's how men change, as men change through love and compassion. When a man is needed and someone's not blaming him, and there's the potential for him to be successful in helping you, this brings out masculinity. This is what masculinity is, the hero. All men are heroes, but they're sleeping, and they're sleeping because we can see them sleeping on the couch. But the testosterone levels are going down in men. And when a woman or a situation evokes a man's testosterone levels, he has the potential to being a hero. Now, that's not always true, because remember, everything I say is one piece of the pie. The flip side of it is, if you take a psychopath who has no compassion, no empathy, only thinks about himself, always wants what's good for him, he assumes, this is the craziness of psychopaths, they assume that what's good for me must also be good for everybody else. They have no conscience at all. If you look at the hormonal balance of a psychopath, they have high testosterone. And that's where this idea of high testosterone men create violence. But that's 0.01% of the population. This is the psychopaths, maybe 1%. We don't know for sure. But there's only a small, tiny, cult of feelings. Absolutely. This should be the title of your book. Oh, that's a great idea. Thanks, King. The cult of feelings. Wow. I really, really like that one. There's another book title that came up recently from somebody, which is a thing I teach men, which is Suck It Up. Be a man. And maybe a whole book up for men. Suck it up. Because, it's like the whole idea is that we all should be sweet and tender and whatever. You have to be tough in life. You can't just be all sensitive and everything. You need to toughen up. It's an important thing. Here's what Alex saying over here. He doesn't change despite explaining calmly, I don't feel comfortable when some things usually to do with home or life values. I say I would prefer it this way, but he reacts. He doesn't care. He gets annoyed, blames me back, and doesn't change. I'm grateful and tells me I am grateful, and tells him when he does things for me what to do. Well, Alex, this is all what we're learning about today. And you can pick and choose, as I point out, all the solutions to this, because it's never just one solution for every person, but I get it. But what I do know is the way you're communicating is not getting results. And if we're communicating in a way that doesn't get results, there's an adjustment. There's a way to create the next step of growth. It's never like I get everything I want when I want it. It's taking a step. So if you're moving in one direction, I want this, and this is how I like it, and he doesn't do it, then you find something else that he can do, is willing to do, that would make your life better, that would make you happier, and learn to ask for that. And I'm only focusing on women on that one as a primary thing, although men have to also have the ability to communicate and express. But find the right way to do this, and what's the purpose of my communication, and so forth. Now, having said that, part of one of the themes of this book, which is Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, for women only, a lot of these new ideas coming out of me are highlighted in that book. There's another book I have, which is called Beyond Mars and Venus, which also goes into all the hormonal differences, and it's for men and women to read. So it's really good for men to read that. But quite often, just reading Men Are From Mars is enough for men to get the basic idea of women. But it's women who say men are so complicated and whatever, and we're not. We're very simple. Now, men can say women are very complicated, and they are. And until you understand yourselves as women on how the way you communicate to a man just sabotages your relationship, it's never going to get better. So I wrote this book for women only because so many women come to me in counseling over 40 years, and the man doesn't come, and they end up having a great relationship. It gets better and better and better because the woman understands the change. And women can say, well, why is it I have to change? Well, here I am. I'm a writer, and I'm writing what I want to say, and nobody wants to buy it. Why do I have to change? Well, I have to find a different way to communicate. This is what life is. It's about, if you don't get results, make a change within yourself and get the results you want. This is why, sometimes women get mad. Oh, you're telling women to do all these things. It's the women who primarily read these books. It's the women who are saying, I want him to change. Well, he didn't read the book. And how do you get him to read the book? You read the book, put it into practice, and then leave the book around, and it will help, but it's not necessary. You don't need him to be a girlfriend. See, girlfriends buy these books. They're all into these books. Not that some guys are high consciousness. They're willing to looking at this as well. Kaylor says, don't explain. That is making him wrong. Ask for what you want instead as a preference, not as it's the only right way to do it. Yes, she's got it on that one. Okay, this whole thing is that as soon as it goes into it's the right way, now you're making him wrong, as if it's a preference. And I know what she just said in the other mention, which she says, I say this is what I would like, but behind it is a demand. That's what you have to realize. If there's a part of you that feels I can't be happy unless you change, it's a demand. And women don't realize that. I talk about, my friend Warren Farrell, who's written great books on relationships as well. We also wrote a great book called Why Men Are the Way They Are. I think Warren's a great teacher. And he, in his workshops, he asks a question of the audience, and he says, what does Warren say? Well, now I just went off into Warren's talk. And I left my talk. This is a new talk, so I need to stick on subject here. But I really like this title, Cult of Freedom, that you all talked about. And I've come back to, he doesn't change. And the nature of life is to change. And she can't let it go. Her resistance to change is she holds on to remembering his mistakes and focusing on how much she gives versus how much she gets. And when you're focusing on how much he gives versus how much she gets, or how much she gives. She's giving all this, and then she feels like, look, I'm entitled. I deserve. So then what you do is you process your emotions around that to where you can be happy without him changing. If you want a man to change, you have to learn to be happy in your life without him changing. And then you become a potential opportunity for him to do something to make you happier. It's the whole thing is first learning how to get your needs met. Now, let's look at those needs for a minute. Let's just look at three basic emotional needs. There's more, but one is the need for connection and romance and an intimate relationship with a man. Intimacy, someone you can share your heart with, someone who's devoted to you, someone you're devoted to, someone you share life with, a companion, so you're not alone. So you have someone who's your backup. This is an intimate relationship. You're not out there all by yourself, okay? So that's one significant relationship. Another significant relationship is with yourself. So when the world turns against me, I go and I become the support for myself. I'm capable of being happy. Yeah, I really fortunately developed that a lot because I was a monk. What ways of communicating are there? Does that mean letting go of what makes a difference to me? We're going to learn all the ways to let go. Okay, so this is part of letting go is if you won't do one thing, let go of that and focus on something else. But what I'm focusing on here is another point, which is letting go of trying to change him and realize there's other things in my life. Thanks for joining us, Lexi. And the other things would be a relationship with myself, and the other one would be a relationship with other women. We're talking to women here, because it's generally women who sort of live in a world of trying to change a man. That's the world of complaining. And why do women live in a world of complaining? Their brain is designed to look at problems. Men's brains are designed to look at solutions. Now, does that mean women can't solve problems? No, women can. It's just that their brains are focusing on problems all the time. And when a woman talks about a problem, a man immediately focuses on a solution. And when somebody has a problem, often the easiest and best solution is to realize that's not really a problem. That's no big deal. You're making a big deal out of nothing. The solution is be happy, accept your life, whatever. And that is the solution. But how to help her come back to the solution is not by telling her she should be happy, doing something that provides the support so that she can find her happiness. But you can't depend on a man to do that solely. A man can do that, and you can learn, and we're learning how to create the space, create the opportunity to help you be happier. But when you're not happy, that's what Warren was teaching, is that men will feel controlled. He asked the question, how many women know they complain too much? They'll say yes. How many women know they nag too much? They'll say yes. How many women feel that they control too much? And most women don't raise their hand. And how many men think women control too much? Hands go up. Why? Because, see, men are designed, our happiness is greatly affected by your happiness. And so, we're here to help you, to be there for you. And the sign that we're successful in helping you to be there is that you're happy with us. And when you're happy with us, we feel successful. And so if you're not happy, then we feel, I have to change myself to make you happy. And if ever a man feels, I have to change myself to make you happy, I have to change who I am to make you happy, can't do that. I am who I am. I'm the unchanging. I'm the being. It's like, here's a thing that always, it was a case for me, was women are always saying to me, I lose myself. And I kind of go, how do you lose yourself? Okay, we are what we are. But for women, they're so they have these genes that think about others more than men. It's because you make babies, you have to be thinking about your baby all the time. Are they safe? Do they need food? Do they do this? Do they do that? They can't communicate, so you're constantly thinking about what other people are feeling and what their needs are and what's going on. We're not that way. We're thinking about how do I achieve my goal? So what's the problem out there that I have to solve? So she points out a problem, or there's a problem. I have to now set my goal to solve that problem, to achieve some goal. And now my whole thinking is, how do I do that in the most efficient way possible? Not, the inefficient way. It's like I'm going to think, what's the easiest way, the most direct way, the most less taking time way? So this is the focus. Adeline asks, a big hug. Thank you so much for the big hug. Appreciate that. Lisa says, I don't focus on problems. That's a victim mindset and lowers frequency. Yes, it does. But here's the thing, Lisa, is that, and I'm not saying it's about you because I don't know all about you, but I know that when women deny, that's going to your male side. If you deny your complaints, if you deny, it's femininity to look at what the problem is, because the nature of life is for more. And men, we have a thing which is don't fix it unless it's broken. So there's stability and then there's change. And what we want to do is have both at the same time. So to integrate, how can I remain myself but also create more and more and more? Or another way of looking at it is the title of this book, which I wrote, which I think everybody should read. It's a manual on the second relationship, romantic relationship, and the relationship with yourself. How do I get what I want and want what I have? Okay, so there's the place of I want more, but we also have to want what we have. And wanting what we have is sort of the default of men. Okay, it's like, hey, everything's good, let's not change it. And the default for women is I want more, I want more. So for women, they have to honor the desire for more, but balance it with I'm so happy and grateful for what I have. And now you're grateful and happy with what you have. And then wanting more doesn't come across as a demand that you have to change in order for me to be happy. I'm already happy, but if you do this, I'll be happier. You see, there's no demand on that. And so this was the idea of helping women to understand why men feel controlled. And if a man feels I'm being controlled, he loses one of his most important values, which is freedom. As that we want to be free. And I'll just say, politically speaking, the reason they're subjugating men, everything is about weakening men. Men are not good. Men are not good enough. Men are the bad guys. Men are the patriarchy. Got to get rid of the patriarchy. Which, by the way, I mean, it was so beautifully done. I forget his name, but became very popular with an interview with a feminist where he basically said, what patriarchy are you talking about? You know, if you're talking about men, it's the men who create this whole world. Women create the men and the love and the families and so forth. We look historically, but the buildings, the roads, the toiling, the inventions, all that, mainly men. Where's this patriarchy? It's that little group of psychopaths who happen to be men who are married to women who are having sex with him, by the way. It's that little group of psychopaths, like 0.001%, that create all the mischief. That's your patriarchy out there. It's not men. Men are fantastic. But when you start looking at men as not fantastic, they're not getting the love that they need. And today you're going to learn how to change what makes this work, how to create change in a man, how to bring out the best in a man, and how him solve the problem, solve your problems, solve the problems of the world. This is the light that comes out of men. But what they've done is they're smart to be the psychopaths. They want to weaken men. See, men want freedom. Women will give up freedom for security. Okay, women have no problem giving up their freedom for security. So much about this, it's a basic stress reaction for women even, which is the fake and fold. That's when you're in cortisol state, your brain goes into safety is everything. I'll do whatever it takes to have safety. This is that whole pandemic nonsense they did. If you don't do this, you're hurting other people. Oh, the women jumped on that, a guilt trip for everybody. We should all comply. And then you found out that, that the vaccine didn't even protect you from spreading it, nor did it even work, okay? And the whole idea of using the logic of you need to do this thing, otherwise other people will get it. Well, those people who don't want to get it, take the vaccine. It's supposed to protect you. So why doesn't it protect you if I'm spreading it? Of course, I didn't get sick at all. So anyway, so it's just everything which is up is down, down is up. Inversion. Inversion happens when all of your virtues become the opposite. Virtues become the opposite when you're in a stress state, okay? So this is, by the way, those psychopaths who have really high testosterone men, the reason they're psychopaths is they're blocked in their biology or in their psychology, whatever, from the ability to produce estrogen. They can't produce estrogen. And estrogen is our heart. It's our female side. They reject their female side. And in doing so, one of the symptoms of them, by the way, just interesting, is that they're not able to be turned on to the opposite sex. Okay, so basically they can't get erections. So when a woman can turn on a man, what's happening biologically inside of him is his testosterone's going up and his estrogen's going up. Now, a psychopath, the only way this is weird, but the only way he can be turned on sexually is to hurt somebody. That's how they do it, okay? So if you hurt someone, you end up inflicting pain. He can then begin to feel something. And then he feels his sexual turn on, and then, of course, it gets released after that. So this is the sickness in the world, is people who need to cause suffering to others in order to feel good, whereas 99% of us, we all want to create happiness in others, care for others, support others, and that makes us feel good. But there are these exceptions. You can call it the patriarchy, but you can say that it's not men. There's some kind of other creature up there. They're psychopaths. So men are wonderful, but men lose their masculinity. So there's no toxic masculinity. There's only masculinity, and it goes down when they don't feel loved by women. And they didn't feel loved by when the mother doesn't love the father. Already it's harder for a boy to feel strong in his masculinity. When the mother doesn't at least love men. Okay, loving men is so important. And we're seeing our whole culture and society just go down into chaos. Chaos as women have pushed men down in their minds. I don't need men is one of the most hateful things, which again, you can say it. I'm not going to say you can't say it. But when you say I don't need men, it's hateful. You're rejecting masculinity. You're rejecting what helped your mother give birth to you. And of course, rejecting femininity is horrible as well. We haven't yet gone that far, but to a certain extent, when you have feminism, you're training women to think they don't deserve respect if they do feminine things. They have to do masculine things in order to get respect. And so actually, it's very hateful to women. The whole feminist movement, from one point of view, is very hateful to women. It's saying that, to be feminine is to be weak. To need help is to be weak. And as someone just mentioned, to talk about problems is low frequency. Talking about problems as a way to change other people is negative. It's manipulative. But exploring, being aware of problems and asking for help without blaming others for your problems, that is going to, with an emotional charge, being angry. When I'm talking about the government, I'm not angry about it, but I'm talking about the problem. I don't like paying property tax. And I think of all these older people whose property, they bought their house and they paid for it. Now the value of property goes higher and higher and higher. And you think, well, you got more money because you have the value of your property. No, they have to go buy something else. They sell and they buy something else. It's horrible. It's cruel. It's terrible. And so, we need to follow the Constitution. The Constitution is the right to own your property. If I have to pay property taxes, otherwise I'll lose my property. That's not fair. That's not right. And somebody else pointed something out to me. I'll just mention it in terms of the deception and the lies, is taxing. If you do something for someone and you have an exchange of energy, why should the government tax that? That's not fair. And you pay high taxes on that. If you get employed and you get paid, you pay highest taxes. But if you invest money and you're just manipulating money by buying and selling real estate, which is a big manipulation, and they're trying to own all the real estate so that you won't be able to. They just make it more and more expensive. So everybody goes, oh, great, real estate value goes up. I made money on that. Yeah, until nobody can afford it. And only the people who can afford it are the people at the very top. And they're buying up all the real estate so nobody can afford it. It's the younger generation. It's terrible. It's hard. They want you to, everything is about subscription. I start looking at my bills, all these subscriptions, even like using Microsoft Word. It was like a subscription. Can't you just own the thing? No, we got a subscription is slavery, is you have to continue in. You can't get out of it. Certainly you can subscribe. I'm not against that, but you should be able to let it go. But oh no, if you want to have these functions, you can't. You have to continue paying and paying and paying. Okay, so enough on all that, but what he was pointing out is that just investing your money, if you make money on an investment, I'm not against capitalism, but you pay less tax on that. Well, you should pay less tax on actual just personal interaction, and if you're using money to make money, pay tax on that. And even don't have tax on that. Just governments can make money, huge amount of money with tariffs. Or without tariffs, they already own so much, okay? They own all this property and everything. There's many ways for governments to make money. Okay, but I think through businesses, when businesses make money, taxes should be paid to the government. When individuals make money, they shouldn't have to pay taxes. And this is like, we didn't have to pay taxes till 1917. And when they started, they said it was for the war. We just need some extra money for the war, and then we'll go back, and it won't be so much. And every year they add on and add on and add on. We just slowly get used to slavery. Just like you put a crab in hot water, and then you slowly turn up the heat. And it's like they don't feel it, They don't jump out, but they feel it. You can hear them crying. Oh, so Lisa says, John, I live alone in a 3-bedroom house in London. It's my house, but I need to be masculine sometimes, and I'm holding fraudulent corporations accountable. That takes a little bit of my masculinity. Absolutely. Listen. See, this is the great thing, Lisa. You have the power of your masculine side, and what my message brings is how to balance that also with your female side. And you've just beautifully expressed, you're living in this big house, and just that fact of that tells me that inside there's loneliness, and loneliness is your female side. Your male side's not lonely. When I was a monk, I was never lonely. I was always one with the divine. I was doing my purpose and so forth. That's my male side. I became a monk to develop my male side. I'm one of these people who's really sweet and cute and little, and I had older brothers, and my mother, I'm the fifth boy, so she basically, wanted a boy. Okay, I mean, she wanted a girl. So part of me just sort of connected more to my mother in that way. And so I was very sensitive, and I think I just came in with sensitivity. We all come in different. And my mother was so wise because she saw that in me, and she realized that he needs more time with his father. But because my father was traveling in his business, he traveled, she created all these surrogate fathers for me. She had me, I had a karate teacher, a boxing teacher. Those were two things that I excelled at, was fighting, and she wanted me to sort of develop the masculine side of me in that way. Then as an entrepreneur, she got me a paper route, and she helped support me having my own paper route, making money. And then, that was sort of a value in our family, was making money. And then I got a job at kind of like a hamburger stand and did that. I had this personal pride and had a sense of independence where I could buy things on my own. And this was all like really, really important for me to strengthen my masculinity. And then there was a lot of encouragement and positive feeling when I wanted to start to learn to meditate. And to meditate is to quiet the mind. It's a very powerful masculine activity. When you look at spiritual traditions, you see the men would primarily be the quiet ones meditating, which is to forget your problems. That's the whole point. You solve your problem by saying there's no problem. Forget it. And that's not the answer for women, just to forget it. Now, when women on their male side, it is good. It can help to calm you, but then you have to go back to your female side, and your female side needs to talk about problems, needs to process feelings. Not all the time, but you need to do that. It's part of the female side of us. It's the yin and the yang, the opposites of life, which is men focus on the solution, women point out the problems. But how do you point out the problems in a way where your partner doesn't take offense and take it personally? And the more sort of feminized we men have become, the more personal we take things. Now, being personal is good, but too much of a good thing is not good. Just like for women, caring for others, nurturing others is a good thing, but caring too much is a bad thing. If you care and so much that you feel I'm not getting back, then you're doing it too much. You're getting upset over nothing. You're getting upset over something, for sure there's a reason, but it's you created it. And this is part of the whole secret of all personal development and happiness and success in relationships. Take responsibility to get what you want and what you need. And I know you're all doing that. Okay, so but what I fill in is different awarenesses and insights and tools in order to do that. So let's get down to business here. So today's topic: he doesn't change, she can't let it go. How to break the pattern. All right. So I was inspired by today's talk just because something my wife did today, which is when I came, she's got these two little puppies. She's nurturing them and caring for them and really proud of them. And she's all into it. And I came in this morning and just said, well, we still need to fix the pool. It hasn't fixed yet. And she didn't feel that I addressed her. Yeah, good morning, honey. How are you? And give her a hug. That's my normal routine. You have to connect on a personal level. And I came in, kind of a little indifferent and whatever. And then she reacted to that. And she reacted by having these tough reactions, like, well, you shouldn't talk to me that way, and I've got to do this, and I don't want to do that. And now I know from a lot of men, if you have a tough reaction, he's going to react back. Now, what I know to be the case is all these things are temporary. When she has a negative reaction, an overreaction, a judgmental reaction, a disapproving reaction, any of those things, it's just focusing on a problem. Women can let it go if you don't get upset. That's the whole thing for men. Don't take it personally. Don't take it personally. Just let them hear what they said. Let them hear what they said. Don't argue back. Don't point out to them their mistake. But anyway, so she had these tough reactions. And they stayed neutral and didn't talk a lot. And then there was a little bit more to it. The freezer was dripping water and we had to fix it. And she didn't want to fix it then because she was doing something else. And I said, okay, we'll do it later. No problem. So neutral, openness. And then she says, well, I've got to go, and do something else. And as she's going out of the room, either then or when she came back in, she just simply said, I'm so sorry I was so tough. Boom. See, she has the wisdom to do that. I'm so sorry I was so tough. She apologized. And so many women don't apologize. Why? Because they don't understand men. Women don't understand men, and therefore you unknowingly sabotage what could work so easily. You have no idea how powerful it is for a woman to apologize. Now, you know how great it is for a man to apologize. You don't realize how great it is for you and how easy it is. See, when a man apologizes, it doesn't immediately wash away whatever's going on inside of a woman. It's good. There's no question about it. We're going to look at ways to do it that are more effective for men. Okay, so there's an art to that, to make it wash away. But apologies are everything to make a relationship work. And that is the pattern of women not apologizing, or men not apologizing, or men not apologizing in the right way, and a way for women to apologize so that she doesn't have this resistance. Now, why nobody, man or woman, why we don't apologize is to point out I was wrong, and that's more the male point of view. Because see, I get paid, I'm successful because I say the right things, I do the right things, and so I get love for that, I get appreciation for that, I get trust for that. And every man wants his wife's appreciation, acceptance, and trust. So it's kind of like our survival is based on doing the right thing, being right, not being wrong. People who do wrong stuff, we put them in jail, we throw them away, we don't let them lead the group, we don't pay them more if you do everything wrong. So everything about a man has to do with his competence. And if he apologizes, he says, I was wrong. His fear is that now you'll love him less. Now, is he aware of that fear? No, but that's what's ruling him. Remember, we have this subconscious mind that rules everything we do to a great extent, particularly if we have any level of stress. I'll take a side note on that. This is an example from India, which is when they raise elephants. And when an elephant is really young, you can put a chain around its neck and you just put that chain on a little log and the elephant can't go anywhere. But now once the elephant is huge and big, you can put a rope around their neck and put it to that little tiny log that they could easily move because they're so big, but he'll still stay put because he's been conditioned. He's been conditioned. Now that elephant that you can control so easily, if you're on that elephant and he's following what you say, you're the boss, if he feels frightened, if he feels in danger, you can't control him at all. That elephant is out of control. You have no control over him. It's the same thing when my dog, the other day, I wanted to take the bone out of its mouth. I want him to do something. He shows me his teeth. He's no longer my sweet little dog. Okay, he's in survival mode. He's attached to that bone. Something about bones that put dogs into survival mode. So there's a change that happens right away. We as human beings, this is the understanding, is that when we are in a stress mode, okay, our brain functions differently. We're no longer in control. We need to have objectivity. And whenever you have a negative emotional reaction, you have lost all free will. You have lost all objectivity, which then gives you free will. Objectivity allows you to look at the bigger picture and make a choice rather than the automatic reaction of survival or conditioned response. So this is what we want, and what allows us to do that is taking responsibility, or one thing that allows us to do it. There's so many things I teach, but this is really powerful to break the pattern, is apologies. Apologies are magic. Apologies transform relationships. Apologies are necessary in relationships. And if you want a man to change, What you do, women, is you learn how to apologize. If you want men, if women, men will complain, she's always holding on to stuff. She remembers I did this. She's resenting I did this. She feels she can't trust me. She can't do this. I had a little white lie, so now she's holding it against me. I'm not straightforward. She's holding it against me. I forget something. Now she's holding it, forgets me. And she says, you always do that. You never do that. I can't trust you. You're not there for me. You're not available for me. All these kind of reactions. Why? Just let it go, huh? Can't you just let it go? Let's be present with each other. I love you. I feel my love. I'm doing my best here. Can't you just love me? No, no, no. She's remembering something from the past. She won't let it go. She's holding on to it. How do you break free from this? Now, one side of, again, apologies. Okay, if I'm good at apologies, it helps a woman to let go, but it's not everything. The only way for a woman to learn how to be free from your female tendency to hold on to problems and mistrust, okay? Women go into mistrust. Let's go into the basic dynamics as I explain in Men Are From Mars, and of course in all my books, it's a theme, the reciprocity of love. If I, as a man, demonstrate that I care about you, and I make changes is one way to say I care about you. Okay, and I do things for you, and I hear you, and I respond to you, and I feel empathy. Key thing for empathy is if I can feel empathy for you. That's caring. I care about you. So that feeling, I can say all the things I do that I care about you. You can see all the visible, but women actually need the experience of him feeling you. Okay, so I'm caring towards you. That's empathy. That says I care. If I give the message to my wife that I care, apologizing is almost the hardest thing to do on the planet. Yes, America is stuck in a war right now because our leaders can't say we made a mistake. It was a mistake to go into this war, and we're stuck. Everybody keeps saying they're trying to find a way out, try to find a way how to get out of this. I mean, we stayed in Afghanistan for the longest time. It was stupid. And then did it solve anything? No, everything went back to what it was before. I still remember when we started bombing Afghanistan. I was at a faculty lounge at UCS, at University of Southern California. And I was in there, and there were 7 women faculty members going, yes, bomb them. They mistreat women. I said, what are you talking about? You're the peacemakers. You're supposed to love. Why are we trying to kill these people? It was the women. See, women will comply to the government. They'll just follow right along. When they feel unsafe, they go into a warped kind of thinking. I said, this is proven. I've given a whole talk on the 12 different ways your brain becomes hijacked when you're under stress. And your brain will be hijacked. And women go into under stress faster than men do. I said, this is a biological function. When men experience the moderate stress, they go into high testosterone, and they feel more conscious and capable of solving the problem. When women go into moderate stress, they immediately go to emotions, and they go into fake and fold. One of the words that more standard word for it is they go into oxytocin response. Moderate stress, women go for tend and befriend. Let's be friends. Let me give to you something. Let me do something for you, and you'll give something for me. That's your stress reaction, women, is nurturing. Let me go nurture you, then you'll nurture me. It's automatic. You think of others rather than yourself. And at those times, you have to be careful to do that with other women, not with men. Because when you do it with men, if he's not asking for help, it's insulting. And you don't realize that. There's so many things we don't understand about each other. So today, it was just talk about a man wanting to change. This is so interesting. So my wife, when she just walked into the room, she just simply said, I'm so sorry I was so tough. I'm sorry I was so tough. That's an apology. And she could do that because she understands men. Most women don't understand men. They think that if you say, I did something bad, that a man's not going to love you. No, it's just the opposite. If you say, I did something bad, he'll love you more. It frees him to be bad as well. And that's part of why women don't apologize, is they say, no, I'm so high and mighty, and I have a right to judge you and be critical of you. But if you go, I'm bad, this is what guys, I remember it came in about 15 years ago when men started saying, my bad, my bad. Women, if you say that word to a guy, it's magic. It's just simply my bad. Because when you say my bad, my fault, I was too tough. I overreacted. I was wrong. I shouldn't have said that. I didn't understand. My fault. Whenever you do that, do you know what's going to happen inside of a man? Is he's going to feel so validated, and he will give you so much more love. Because if you're not perfect, it means he doesn't have to be perfect. And when a man doesn't have to be perfect, then he's free to not defend his imperfection and can change. See, it's love that allows us to change. And I do have an advantage in my life. People say, well, how did you come up with all these ideas about relationship and everything? Because fortunately for me, it's not everybody's gift. It was an extra blessing for me. Not that I haven't other issues in my life, but my parents decided never to punish me. So I'm not afraid of punishment. And yet all children are raised with the idea of you should be punished. If you're not good, you will lose love. And then if you suffer, that's the punishment, then you deserve love again. Just see how crazy that is? That's how you manage animals. But even today, they're saying with dogs, you don't need to manage them with punishment. You can manage them with motivation. So there's a lot of different schools of thought on that. But what I know to be the case is that with good communication, you don't need to punish children. You can manage children. But that's a whole book I wrote. That's a whole nother topic, which is children are from heaven. So my wife is here, and I'm wondering, do you have a question?
If you can turn on the refrigerator, that'd be great.
If I do what?
Turn on the refrigerator.
Oh, okay. It's we have to turn on the refrigerator again. If you go to the fuse box, you just turn the top fuse. No, okay, I'll do it when I'm done. Okay, I'll be there in an hour. I'll try to keep it short. Okay. So then my wife, we had this thing with the freezer. It was leaking. I had to turn it off. Now it wants me to turn it on. It's like turn a switch and the whole thing is done. So it's the same thing in our relationship. I'm talking about a simple solution, just the fuse box. Just turn it off, turn it on, and you can get it. How do you turn on your relationship? I was just talking about when men demonstrate caring, what's the reaction? It's a reaction. It's a biological reaction. When I show you I care, and empathy is one of the most powerful ways to show I care. Actions are good, okay? But actually, if you actually act from a place of empathy, it allows you to feel what? Trust. You feel trust. Then I talked earlier about how our government lies and all the lies that are going on. When you have lies in a relationship, really hard for the woman to trust. And so this is the whole key. And many times men, in not apologizing, to avoid apologizing to a woman, they'll just make up a lie. It'd be like, why are you late for dinner? Oh, there was terrible traffic on the road. Well, I just lied. And she knows it's a lie. Well, there's always traffic on the road. You should prepare for that. So we make excuses, and we can always throw in a few lies with the excuse. And that just builds mistrust. So what we want to be able to do is for men to learn how to apologize for the littlest things. Don't have to make up a story. Don't have to give an excuse. And actually to avoid giving up excuses is how you apologize to a woman. Often men will want to give a justification like you were late. And he says, well, I had to talk to my clients, as opposed to just apologize. So sorry. And then if she says, well, why were you late? You can say, well, I was talking with the clients, whatever. And just try to be honest. But see, people have to cheat. They have to lie. They have to sort of embellish. Women, men will find reasons, okay, and embellish those reasons so they don't look bad and they can look good. Women will tend to embellish their suffering, okay? When they're upset and they want you to change, they embellish their suffering. We do it both. So what we want to do is back off from that. And what frees us from this pattern is learning how to apologize. So thank you, God, for having a wife who's willing to apologize. And she does. She's just, it's a simple thing. I was too tough, because she can get very tough. Some of her friends will see her and she says, gee, sometimes you talk to John like he's a dog. And it's when she's stressed, it will come out that way. She becomes demanding, whatever. It's something I talk about in one of my books, which is a great book, by the way. It's called Mars and Venus Together Forever. The skills that hold you keep you together. And another one, which is called What Your Father Didn't Know and Your Mother Couldn't Teach You, something like that. And what your mother didn't know and your father couldn't teach you. I think it's the other way around. But one of the things in that book I talked about is techniques to not take things personally. And it's kind of like somebody punches you, you don't punch back, instead you just deflect. Somebody punches you, you just duck and let it go over. Don't let it land. It's like learning martial arts. That was also one of the things I studied as a kid, was martial arts. It's just don't let it land. Keep deflecting. But in this case, don't punch back, but give a hug. It's a dance. It's the relationship dance of not taking things personally. But what frees you from this pattern is the defensiveness that we all create in various ways in order to avoid being seen as wrong or as bad. Now, for men, that being wrong is one aspect of a bigger issue for men, which is I need to be seen as right because then I'm competent. I'm seen as capable. I'm seen as someone that can be trusting to get the job done. That's the big issue, is men primarily need to feel trusted. And women primarily need to feel safe, and they feel safe when you feel I care. It's that if I don't care, then you're going to feel you can't trust me. It's a big issue for women. That's why I talk about men need to learn to listen to women, hear them to the point where you can actually connect with them. But then take it one step further. Women will share their feelings, and when you listen, you can connect with her unless what you're feeling is blaming him. And if what you're feeling is blaming him, instantly his adrenaline will be produced, because that's danger. Whenever he's being blamed, that's danger. I have to defend myself. And what happened is if you're sharing about him, then he gets defensive. Hormonally, what happens is his testosterone goes up to be I'm right. His estrogen, though, goes down. He cannot feel you. And the brain research reveals why this happens is because we have mirror neurons that allow us to feel what somebody feels. So if my wife's upset, I can't feel empathy for her. I can't. It's impossible for me to feel empathy if I'm being blamed. Because as soon as I'm feeling blamed, adrenaline goes up, my mirror neurons close down, unless I don't feel blamed. And this is what I've learned as a man, to not feel blamed when she gets upset, because primarily she apologizes. If I know somebody's going to attack me, and that's how it would be seen, threaten me, blame me, criticize me, seek to improve me, seek to change me when I'm not asking for help, all those things are a danger. They're a threat. But if I have the regular experience that she's going to apologize when she does that, and she does that, whatever thing she does that upsets me, and then later in a short period of time, she apologizes for it. And I'll explain the words to use, women. When you apologize for it, next time you criticize me, I go, oh, I don't have to say anything. I don't have to do anything. She'll recognize her mistake and she'll apologize. How do I know she recognizes her mistake? Is she apologizes. That's what builds trust. So basically, I don't have to feel adrenaline, rejected, or anything when she does any of those things I said, criticize, complain, nag, whatever. If I know, because I've experienced that she's apologized this repeatedly, I can stay relaxed, knowing that she can solve the problem on her own of being negative towards me, rejecting me in that way, criticizing me in that way, pushing me away in that way. She's going to take responsibility for it, and therefore she will change over time. I can be patient. I could be the rest of my life. I don't care. She can be grumpy and mean to me sometimes, as long as she apologizes. Because apologize basically means it wasn't her intention to do that, to push me away. It wasn't her intention to look down on me. And she's not looking down on me. So there's a whole thing. There was a big study done at Harvard on this, which is intention is what causes people to take it personally. And that sort of the example was, and I have to remember my own example for it, but I was once on a lake in China, and all these people who don't know how to drive boats get to rent a boat, and the boat has a little motor boat behind it, and you're going around the lake, and you can't go really very fast. But when you're on a boat, you can't turn quickly. It's a gradual turn. So people are bumping into each other all the time. Now imagine you're in a boat and somebody bumps you by mistake. You don't take it personally. But if somebody rams you and that's their intent to do that, or if they're angry at you and they hit your boat, you get angry back because of the intention. So when you apologize to your partner, you're reaffirming over and over, my intention is never to put you beneath me. My intention is never to be judgmental of you. My intention is never put you down. But who are the people who resist apology the most, whether it be a man or a woman. The people who resist apologizing to the most are the people who think they're superior to others. I shouldn't have to apologize. I'm better than you. You're worse than me. I can put you down. I don't need to apologize. I have to build myself up. Why? Because I'm afraid of appearing imperfect. And that again, I as a man, I'm talking about afraid of appearing weak or incompetent or not capable or not trustworthy. That's what I'm afraid of subconsciously. Most men are not aware of that. Anytime you're angry, you're also afraid. You just don't know it. And your fear is being seen as less than. And that's based upon a deeper unconscious fear of not being good enough. And that all comes from childhood and previous generations. It's in all of us. And we just don't want it to rule us. We want to keep getting out of that stress state and do the things that allow us to open our heart and be loving. To apologize is one of the greatest gifts of love. So here she is. She just says, I'm so sorry. I was so tough. Done. Makes me feel so good. Now, when I feel so good, I anticipate her to apologize to me. And when I anticipate her apologize to me, to recognize her side of things instead of being a victim. We want to meet her. Thank you, Christina. She was just here. And it was so interesting. There's a problem up there with the refrigerator and everything. I told her I'd be there in an hour, and she said, okay. Even though she wanted me to come now, but she knows I'm working, so she was respectful of that. Men absolutely love to change women, especially if they like them, seen as controlling behavior, but it's apparently always women who want to change men. Men absolutely love to change women, especially if they like him. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not getting it so clearly, Lisa. But the bottom line is I am talking about women wanting to change men. That does tend to be a big thing. Men want to change women. We want to change how you feel. Okay, if you're not feeling love towards us, then we want to change you. It's much easier to apologize when the heart is open, heart chakra. Yes, it's much easier to apologize when you understand men. See, if you don't understand men, you can't apologize. What your mother couldn't tell you and your father didn't know. Yeah, that's the book. Thanks, Sharon. You have to apologize. When you understand men, you realize women, you win. If you say, I was too tough, I overreacted, I was too critical, I can see that was disapproving, I apologize. So simple. It's just a few words, but you're afraid that he's going to not love you. If you apologize, he'll see you as not virtuous. So men are afraid deep inside we're not going to be seen as capable and competent and therefore trustworthy. Ironically, men, when you apologize, then you can be seen as trustworthy. Because when people apologize, it's the awareness, I made a mistake. And it's that awareness, I made a mistake, that's allowing you to connect with your true self, which recognizes what a mistake is. It's like the virtue, the light, the clarity, the understanding. When you connect with the light, you realize I just made a mistake. And that light then allows you to self-correct and make a change for the better, because we're all in this world to become better. It's a growth process. When you stop growing, you start dying. Okay, it's as simple as that. If you're not growing, you're dying. And we all want to grow and learn with happiness and so forth. So the idea here, come back to this basic premise, is if a man demonstrates caring, a woman will trust more. When a woman trusts more, a man will care for you more. If you're trusting him, he feels cared. That's why if women can learn to apologize for men, in order to apologize, you have to practice trust. You have to trust that if I show him I wasn't perfect, he'll still love me. And what I'm telling you, he'll love you more if you take responsibility for the times when you are out of balance and just to say it, own it. And there's a whole talk I gave, which is helpful to look at, which is, the 12 ways your brain is hijacked. Now, I wrote out for this talk, I'll go through the ones I wrote out and I'll list them out. And these are different ways to say, I'm sorry. And this works for men and it works for women. And I'll focus in a little bit more on men. I'll focus a little bit more on women as I do it. I'm sorry I was too tough. A man can say that. A woman can say that. So naming the specific behavior, not just saying sorry, shows the other person you actually know what might have offended them, upset them, bothered them, put them down, created rejection. It's like an awareness. Oh, realize I made a mistake. The recognition I made a mistake is the doorway to make a positive change in your life. If you don't recognize you didn't make a mistake, you cannot make a change. And we all want to change, but then we don't want to change because we don't want to admit our mistakes. So we have this stupid government that constantly does two things. One, doesn't admit their mistakes. It seems like every time somebody does something bad, they get a promotion. Because if you point out you made a mistake, then if I point out I made a mistake, then the government is wrong, and so we have to reward you so we don't look like the government is wrong. It's a ridiculous thing. So I'm sorry I was too tough. That was the one she had today. Another one, I apologize. Just simply say, I apologize. I overreacted. Simple phrase. Owning an overreaction disarms defensiveness in your partner. It simply says, you don't need to defend yourself. It was me. And if you own it, what women don't know about men is that men will love you more. And just think about it, women. If a man was to say to you, I'm so sorry, I was too tough, I was mean, I was insensitive, I was cruel, it allows you to go, oh, okay, he sees he made a mistake, so I can start to trust him again. I can be open to trusting him again. The same applies with men. If you just say, I overreacted, I was too tough, I realized I shouldn't have said that, my mistake. Another simple one that men would love for you to say is you find yourself saying something and he's getting quiet. You just say, my bad, didn't mean to say that. Done. Okay, don't have the big talk about it. Don't have to explain it. What women will tend to do is they'll defend themselves by saying, well, I can't always say what's right. This is why I'm always wrong. I can't always say what's right. I have to do this, and then they'll give big explanation why they weren't feeling good to do the right thing. It's okay to do the wrong thing. You love each other. That's the whole point, is we're not perfect. We're growing together in love. My bad. I just love that phrase. My bad. It's simply, I messed up. I messed up. This is a good one for men. I messed up. My bad. But oh my gosh, women, if you can do my bad. Because see, everything about a woman, she's afraid of apologizing because part of the essence of femininity is virtue. And to appear non-virtuous, to appear not good, a good person. If you're not a good person, you're not worthy of love. You should always be good. Sugar and spice and everything nice, be nice. And that's also why they want all the men to become weak and go to the female side. So then we all want to be nice. And as they try to take control over us, we'll all just comply. The good news, I want to just point out there, the good news in America is we're a government that was based on freedom, and we fought a revolution. And in that revolution, as a result, there are people, I'm not those people, I'm a teacher, but there are people who have guns. And there's 300 million people in America, and there's 600 million guns. So just be aware of that, government, because you overreach too far, you're going to find out you're not in power anymore. Just to throw that thought out there. That's masculinity. Is we want freedom for ourselves, freedom for our children, freedom for our families, freedom to live the life we want. We do not want these cameras watching us all the time. There was a guy that had 1 million views in one day, and he just showed people how to disassemble those cameras, how to do it. What a creative guy to educate the public on how to do things. Okay, so I don't know. So here I'm going to go through lists of apologies that I wrote out here. So again, I overreacted immediately prevents your partner from becoming defensive and trying to justify their reaction. And I can do that. She can do that. And who wants to break the pattern? Either one can do it. Third one, I apologize. I was insensitive. Now, men, you should know that if you do this, that one might be too hard for some women because it completely goes against the reality that they are so sensitive. So it may not always fit. And it doesn't have that big of an effect on a man anyway. I was insensitive. But when a man says, look, honey, I'm sorry, I was insensitive. Now, another key thing with all of these apologies is if in any way a man doesn't have that confidence that he's going to be heard and she's going to let it go, and that takes time to develop that. That's called increasing the love bank in your relationship. Then it's not authentic to say I'm sorry, because if I have any adrenaline, a woman's blaming me for something, boom, adrenaline goes up. If I don't have a relationship where I know she's going to take responsibility and let go of her blame, then I will get defensive. Every man will get defensive. So that reactivity will be there. And so one of the ways to neutralize that is to not say, I'm sorry. Because I'm sorry is a feeling. Okay, so there's a feeling, and you're not going to be able to feel at that time. Because when men experience adrenaline, their mirror neurons close down, their estrogen goes down, they can't feel. So if I say I'm sorry, she's going to feel like I don't believe it, I can't feel it, because he's not feeling it. Now, a man can apologize, though. So you can use the phrase, I apologize. I was insensitive. That's good. It's a apology is, I made a mistake. I'm just not in my feelings right now. I made a mistake. I was insensitive. And that starts to open the door for her to trust, well, he recognizes he made a mistake and he needs to be more sensitive. That builds safety. That builds trust. So what I do, my apologies build trust. But also when I'm confident that I know how to diffuse a situation with a good apology, then what happens is I don't feel adrenaline. I can easily, see, this is, I guess, the big thing. I'm 74 years old. I know I deserve to be loved no matter what. I know I'm not a perfect person, but I know I'm lovable. And, I'm a star. And so, hey, you can tear me down and whatever. I get it. Let me see how I can make a change, but it doesn't affect my insight that I deserve to be loved. And I know my wife loves me. No question about it. And that she didn't want to change me unless she's upset. When you're upset, you want to change somebody. Okay, you're blaming the outer world. That's all stress responses put you in a victim state. When you're a victim, the solution is you change. When you're not a victim, I change. And this is the whole power. This is chapter 9 of this book. And I want to mention that tonight, by the way, for those of you listening live, we are doing the book club for chapters. I think it's 6 and 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7 and 8. Yeah, 7 and 8, chapters 7 and 8 we'll be doing tonight. So another apology, a really good one for men. I was insensitive, and that sort of inspires in women that you have an awareness of you want to be more sensitive. Yes, Lisa lets us know we're all worthy of love. So another one is, here's the acknowledgement on that one, is when you say you're insensitive, it's kind of acknowledges, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. And I recognize that you have sensitivities that I want to be more careful with. I think of men as like a bull in a china shop. We really have no idea of how we knock things over. And if it really was a bull, you wouldn't take it personally. You would just say, please, don't put the bull in this shop. Should we apologize in person, or is it okay to do in a text message? Yes. Hilda, great point. Until you become at ease and comfortable apologizing eye to eye, it takes a lot of courage to do that, because you're basically giving yourself, some partner, permission to say, yeah, you should feel bad. That then is like a knife that goes in. And of course, my wife sometimes will say, it's my bad. Well, yeah, you did that. I said, you're right. Because it's like I have a bulletproof vest, which I know that I don't have to defend myself. I trust in her love, and I care about her love, and I know she loves me. But that's because we build up our love bank. That's other talks I've given on all doing the little things that build up estrogen in a woman, creating a history of men doing lots of little things and women appreciating those little things. That's what scoring lots and lots of points. I think I have a whole talk on scoring points with the opposite sex. So Sharon is saying, I'm learning that I don't have to defend myself with long stories when apologizing. Yes, wow, that's brilliant. He loves when I open my heart, become vulnerable, and apologize. In fact, it's a turn on for him. Absolutely. What was it just the other day? My wife said, she said, I felt ashamed that I said that. Immediately, I wanted to make love to her. It was like an instant thing. As soon as she revealed, I felt ashamed when I did that. And it might have been something that she said to me. It might have been something else that made her feel, I felt ashamed because I said something, I can't remember what it was. And as you can see from a man, I don't remember what it was. All I know is when she got down to saying I felt ashamed, she was taking responsibility for being a better person. That's what shame is. Shame is saying I'm better than that and I want to be better than that. But I'm not talking about walking around feeling I'm bad. No, I'm bad and I forgive myself. But you can't experience accepting and forgiving yourself for imperfection unless you first have the emotion that I was imperfect in some way. So another apology, this is number 4 in our apologies, which is, I'm so sorry, or I apologize. I was unconscious. See, it's just simply that. It's acknowledge I was unconscious. I didn't realize it. But better than I didn't realize it sounds more like an excuse. And I didn't really mean that. Sounds like an excuse. It's kind of like saying, you didn't hear me right. But here it's just, I was unconscious. It's a state of being. And women will go, yes, you were. You're completely oblivious. Yeah, that was me. And I am unconscious of stuff. This is part of being a man, by the way, is you become hyper-focused on one thing and unconscious of everything else. So that's more of a great male thing to say. Thank you for pointing that out. This is a really great one. This is like mastery, okay? This is mastery. If your partner has a complaint for you, just simply go, I'm so sorry. Thank you for pointing that out. It's like you win the game. It's just kind of like in most situations where somebody points out or criticizes you, you would normally react back with defensiveness. No, thanks for pointing that out. That helped me fix it. I'll try not to do it again. Okay, simple as that. Help me. That helps. Okay, that really helps. Thanks for telling me that. Thank you. That is so good. It's masterful. See, when you start to see that this is how you win by embracing, I'm not perfect. And I also need help. Your feedback was good. Thank you so much. That was so helpful. And then just say nothing after it. That's the key. No more to it. Just let it go. Let there be space. Thanks for pointing. Turning correction into gratitude reframes feedback as a gift rather than an attack, which makes it easier for both people to keep being honest. That's what we want, is you don't have to defend, you don't have to hide. It keeps women from having to magnify how unhappy they are to justify getting him to change. And it frees men to sort of admit their mistakes without having to make up reasons to justify stuff. There's one example that I think the word evolved. I didn't bring the word out, but a bunch of unhappy women brought it out. They call it mansplaining. Mansplaining with women. It's a man explaining. Okay, so the way I saw this, I was in line for a kind of like a coffee shop, and it was a pretty long line, and I'm waiting for a little while, and so couples have a chance to talk quietly amongst themselves, and then this woman, third in line, just started screaming irrationally, mad as can be. Yes, you're right. You're right. I'm not going to yell and scream, but you're always right. Yes, go ahead and explain it to me. I'm always wrong. You're always right. You're always right. And it was simply because, and I know what happened, is she was upset about something. She saw a problem, and he gave a defense. He explained why she was wrong. She explained how she should look at it differently. And so now he's explaining why she shouldn't be upset. It's not a big deal. That's not what happened. Or you could look at it this way, or this is the way life is. This is the way you have to look at it. Anytime a man is explaining to a woman why she shouldn't feel the way she does, she's gonna feel invalidated. She's gonna go into a stress response. She's gonna go into overreaction. Now, if she does, okay, if they had any awareness of how to repair that relationship, it would be for her to say, I'm so sorry I embarrassed you in public. This is one of the beautiful gifts of my wife, Bonnie, Bonnie, and also my wife now. Okay, they were very sensitive to the fact that I was a public person. And so in public, I'm sorry I embarrassed you. Okay, that must have been embarrassing for you. This is a thing in Asia, which is a really big deal, often why a lot of men are attracted to Asian women. And that is because they do have this thing of saving face. They will always have, they never want to tear the man down in public. The problem is that they'll tear them down in their personal lives in some cases, but at least the public thing. And it's amazing. Again, that would be a thing to apologize for, which is, I certainly apologize. What I said must have been embarrassing. I'm sorry. Done. A man will let it go. That's what you have to know. He will love you more. Okay, so thanks for pointing that out. That's win today by being grateful for it. In a sense, that's really the overall look at life. Everything that comes against us ultimately is some gift. The universe is not against us. It's for us in some way for us to learn how to change our ways, how to change the way we think, how to change the way we act, make different decisions, change your life in some way so you make your life better and so you make the world a better place. We're here learning stuff. I understand. Oh, another one. So she criticizes you or he criticizes you. Let's see what this is. Consciousness is the one and only reality, Neville Garter. Well, that is a reality, but this is all, these are high truths, we'll put it that way. I don't live in the world of just high truths. I'm living in the world of reality. And the reality is there's all these couples who are fighting and getting divorced and children growing up in broken homes and a lot of violence in this world. And this is the world we live in. And that is the reality we live in. And we have the potential to connect to our higher consciousness so that we can correct ourselves, so that we can correct the way we interact in this world. But this is a world of chaos and duality and right and wrong. And we need to acknowledge that it doesn't have to be perfect to be loved. And whenever you find yourself being judgmental of other people, just know this is the picky, judgmental people. Whenever you're judgmental, it's one sign is you can't apologize. Okay, that's one key. And two is know that deep inside you're afraid. You're afraid of not being loved if you're not perfect. And if you not do the right thing, or if you're not virtuous, if you're not good, or you're not good enough. These are all deep fears that we have. And the way you heal those fears, and a relationship can heal those fears, you find somebody you love and you learn how to apologize. You see, every time you apologize, women, and a man loves you for it, you're going to trust him more. See, your biggest lesson in life is, how do I trust? Everything is, I have to be good, I have to be good. Well, you're not good all the time. Sometimes you're overreacting. Sometimes you're judgmental. Sometimes you're nagging. Sometimes you're critical. Sometimes you're rejecting. All those things. It's going on inside. I remember one woman, and she was like, I'm so good. He's so awful. I can't have sex with him. I said, well, do you think it's very loving not to have sex with him? He's your partner. He's your husband. Well, how can I have sex with him? He did this. Okay. It goes back to something 10 years ago. He did this, or something even 3 years ago. He did this. I can't love him. Well, okay, don't go blaming him for that now. Blame yourself for not being able to heal what's in your heart, to open your heart up. And if you really can't give him the love, then leave. Stop torturing him by pretending to be loving. And, it took me a while to get her to acknowledge. I had to tell her what she's feeling. Isn't there a part of you that's criticizing him and judging him? But you're so good that you don't want to tell him you're trying to be loving. I'm trying to be loving. I don't say it. But what are you feeling inside? All of this rejection, all of this criticism, all of this blame. And when she's feeling that, but acting like everything's good, that's a lie. She's a liar. And when she's lying, do you think that is going to open her heart or his heart? No, he's feeling it all. It's like a machine gun going off on him every time she pretends to be happy. You can't hide what you feel inside. If it's in there, the tone of your voice reveals that my love for you is not real. We have to come back to those three relationships, which I mentioned at the beginning. I didn't finish that thought, which is, one is relationship with your partner. Another is relationship with yourself, so you can come back to your happy zone. And then you come back to your female side with other women. You have to have relationships with other women who truly can relate to you. We can relate 50% to you. We relate more to you if you can learn how to reveal emotions, because we all have emotions as men. We can relate to emotions, but the feelings, I feel ignored, I feel unhappy, I feel unsupported, we don't relate to that so much, but the emotion that goes to it, any man can relate to. When people think men aren't emotional, just look at the World Cup. Men are totally emotional. We relate to emotions. We just don't relate to the belief system and the thoughts that women are having that are causing their emotions. But if you can actually feel your emotions, which is what I teach women to do, which my app does, then that will allow you to feel your emotions. Now, part of another way we don't feel emotions, and I should take a moment to talk about this. Now, we're already an hour and a half in, but I want to mention that, the nutritional side of all this, okay? You can't feel your emotions if you're numbing out all the time. If you're overweight by overeating or eating carbohydrates and sweetness and all that stuff, if you're overweight because of that, you can't feel your emotions. See, you can't. You have to be able to start coming back into healthy balance to do that. And I want to point out, I have the best program for that. I've seen so many programs all the time on internet. This is one you don't have to change anything. Just add to your what you do, and your food cravings become less. You have to be aware you can't just pig out on junk food all the time. But basically, you have to give yourself high-quality, pre-digested protein. This is brain fuel. And lithium orotate and brain fuel are the secret. These are the two major things that I promote. Let me put this down. Brain fuel and lithium orotate. And I'm very excited about lithium orotate now, because there was a whole Tucker 1 hour and a half interview with a guy who wrote a book on it now. It's coming out of the closet that you wouldn't need any, according to him, and according to me over the last 20 years, you wouldn't need any antidepressants. There'd be so much more happiness and hormonal balance if people would take lithium orotate on a regular basis in a very micro dose. It's something that we lose whenever we're stressed. And so the research has shown that we have a minimum requirement. If our brain is to function, we have a minimal requirement of lithium. And that minimal requirement is just 1 milligram of lithium that gets into the brain. And it's lithium orotate that carries that into the brain. Now, it's in the water. And so it's just most water today doesn't have it in it. They discovered this with these places called lithium springs where people could go, their depression would go away, their anxiety would go away, they'd sleep better because the water had the concentration of lithium that the body needs. But all water doesn't have that. And our polluted water doesn't have that. And we are in a high stress state all the time. So when you're high stress, you need more than 1 milligram of it. You need 5 milligrams and 10 milligrams, but it needs to be bonded to a substance in mother's milk, which carries it into the brain. And big story on that. I've talked a lot about that. Go to my website. I'm going to make a video just all on that where I can explain all of the amazing benefits of lithium orotate. I first started taking it when I had early stage Parkinson's, and I had to rebuild my dopamine receptors in my brain. And I saw a study that said lithium in a petri dish causes brain cells to populate. You actually increase the amount of brain cells you have. And most people, as they're getting older, they're getting less brain cells. But as a mood stabilizer, preventing you from being addicted to higher states of dopamine, but for normal states of dopamine to give you fulfillment. But when you're under stress, you're training your brain to depend on drama, danger, or new and different in order to feel alive. Your brain, when you're a child, you don't need all that. You just normal dopamine stimulation makes you feel alive, but that changes when we're under stress. And how you change your brain back is with lithium orotate. Now, that's the first part of it. Then the next part of it is because we're so stressed, we're not getting the amino acids necessary to make more dopamine and serotonin in the brain. We're deficient in our ability to make that. So when we seek higher stimulation to make it. So why not just have an abundance of the precursors to making dopamine and serotonin in your brain. Dopamine giving you happiness and motivation, serotonin giving you love, calm, and more your female side. So you want to balance those two things. So why is it we don't have enough of that? Because we're stressed. When we're stressed, our digestion doesn't break down the proteins and convert it into peptides. Now, peptides, you're hearing it all. Everybody's taking this peptide for this and this peptide for this and this. It's just another form of drugs, and that's a pathway you can go on. I know people are doing it, and not everybody's just working for them, by the way, but for some people it does because they have a clean diet. If you have a clean diet and they're doing enough exercise, it can work. But it doesn't necessarily produce all the benefits they hype it up to. I've listened to a lot of talks on this peptides, and some of the questions says, I'm doing this peptides, why isn't it working for me? And this way you have to have a good diet and exercise for it to work on you. Well, just have a good diet and exercise, life is going to work because then you're not stressed. Now, what I would add to all of this, good diet, exercise, and not so much exercise if you're not an athletic type. And you can't get a perfect diet. Get supplements to give, what you can't get in food, you can get in extra supplements. So I believe in supplements, not overboard, but supplements if you're not getting healthy, organic food on a regular basis and a good diet. Having said all that, what happens is when you're stressed, you can't digest your proteins. Proteins get digested and turned into peptides, and it's those peptides which allows your body to function right. So you can go buy peptides for $10,000 and get injections and IVs and all these things, which that's how I cured my Parkinson's. In the beginning was IV drips of peptides. But it didn't last because I needed to make it on my own without having someone do it for me. And so what happens is you get a protein. This is the brain fuel is what I call it. And how do you get brain fuel? You go to my website, marsvenus.com, and you go to contact and you say, I want to learn about how to get brain fuel. And then it'll give you a phone number. Maybe we can put the phone number up as Ellen, who I've worked with for 25 years promoting brain fuel. And I do it there so that you can get the instructions, get the support and the help to make sure your goals are achieved. But the bottom line is that we need to produce these peptides so the brain can efficiently make dopamine and serotonin. If you can't fully digest your food, then you're not going to get the peptides to produce dopamine and serotonin, and you need the extra lithium orotate in order to balance the dopamine and serotonin. Keeps you from getting too overly excited, overstimulated, and then dependent on hyperstimulation. That's what all forms of ADD is, all forms of addiction is. So this is like two powerful things. There are other things I recommend. I'm going to start doing videos on other things to help, but that's like a foundation. It's a basis, and it's something that has worked for me. And if it doesn't work for you, I give you a full refund. Okay. If it doesn't work for you and you call Ellen and you order the product, if you order 1 month's supply, okay, 1 month's supply is around $200, and you just take it as an add-on, you will lose weight and you will also feel better, and everybody does. And I can't say how much you'll lose weight, because if you just keep eating tons of junk food, you're not going to lose weight. You can't use my product and then just start putting down the ice cream. That doesn't work. Okay, so you have to have a reasonably healthy diet. But what helps you have a healthy diet is that your brain is not craving energy. See, sugar, carbs are instant energy. You have to be relaxed to burn your fat energy. And if you're in a stressed state, you're always wanting more energy from sugar, but it has no calories. And so your blood sugar goes up, it goes down, you're unstable, you have more addictions. You want to balance this. And then your expectations in life become accepting of what is, which is part of what our whole talk is learning how to accept your partner as they are without trying to change them, but learn how to bring out the best in them, whether it be a man or a woman. I don't try to change my wife's behavior and feelings, but I give her the support so she will come back to her true self, which is the person I married. You want a man to be the person you married, enthusiastic, motivated, devoted to you. You just have to provide that kind of emotional support that men need, and it's different. And apologies says it all. So let's go down our list more of another one. My wife complains to me. Most men immediately go into, what's that word we just talked about, which is explaining, whatever it was. But he'll go into the mansplaining. He'll immediately mansplain. This is what men do. Now, men, what I want you to know, and what you can tell him, women, you can say, you don't need to explain anything. All you have to do is say, I hear you. That's all that's necessary. God is the dreamer in you. The dreamer in you is God. God is imagination. Yes, good to have some good spiritual energy here. Now we're coming back to grounded on the earth, bringing the divine into this world so you can make your dreams come true. They're in you. But if you're stressed, you can't find them, and you don't have the power to find them, and you'll attract the situations to tell you that your thinking is wrong. Oh, what is the app? The app is called Mars, Venus, Heart, Space. Mars, Venus, Heart, Space app. There you go. And you can just go on there, and it will guide you how to use it and so forth. I'd recommend first reading the chapter 9 in my book for women only, and that explains how to use the app. Maybe we should just put the whole chapter 9 into the app. Make a note. Okay. So I understand now. This is a thing when your partner complains. Is thank you. I understand now. That's it. Don't say more. Don't explain. Don't justify, whatever. Another one. I just love this one because Bonnie used to complain, and she'd look at me like she's looking for me to say I'm sorry, and there's not a part of me that can feel anything except blank. She's getting upset, or in my mind is something little. In her mind is something big. Because in a woman's mind, if you don't do little things, how can I trust you to do big things? But in my mind, as a little thing, of course I'll do the big things. Come on. So it's this misunderstanding. But she's looking at me with mistrust, with disapproval. That's an immediate reactivity inside of me. So my mirror neurons close. Hard to feel I'm sorry. What do I feel? What do I do? Hello from France. So happy to make it live today. Thanks so much, John, for all your weekly insights. Thank you so much for joining me from France. This app is amazing. Thank you for using the app. I appreciate it. One of the things the app does is after it helps you process your feelings by writing a feeling letter, a response letter, and then helping you see how you would feel if you'd gotten that response. Then it gives a list of affirmations, and then you pick one. And then that affirmation will come up on your phone every day. It pops up on my phone several times. It just brings me back to that healing moment where I was more in touch with my feelings. But this was such a powerful one. It's just, as soon as my wife complains about something, a guy wants to explain why he did it and why he's not a bad guy for not doing it. Instead, it's just, I hear you. End of conversation. Done. I hear you. And that's enough. And I did a whole talk that you can go to for that one if you haven't watched it, which is 3 magic words to save a relationship, which is I hear you. It just stops all defensiveness. That's the whole purpose of communication is I hear you. And the flip side of that is a mistake that mothers often make with their children. And they say, you're not listening to me. You're not listening. They hear you. You say you're not listening. It means you're not hearing me. They hear you. They're just not obeying. So much of the time when women say, you're not listening or you don't understand, they're saying, you're not obeying me. Because if you obeyed me, then I would know you're listening or you understand me. So with your children, rather than saying you're not listening, simply say, I want you to cooperate. Right now, I want you to cooperate. Because that's saying what you want. Instead of I want you to listen to me, they are listening. Would say, I want you to cooperate. Okay, so that's with your children. Not with your husband. That's different. So simply, I hear you. Anytime your partner complains, it just comes right off. I hear you. And if it's something, that's like another form of apology. It's taking in what the person has said. So let me see another one. Here I have. So men will feel like if they apologize, they're losing. We all want to be winners. What I want men to know is that when you apologize, you're going to win. And women always feel like if I apologize or if I say I'm sorry, then, I feel unworthy of love. I feel unsupported. I feel he won't love me. You're doing the best thing you can do in your relationship is I feel bad. I'm sorry. I was insensitive, or that would be more for a man, but I was too tough. I overreacted. That must have been embarrassing for you. Done. No more talk. Don't have to explain yourself. And that's a big one. Someone pointed it out. When you apologize, you don't have to go into, I explain why I did it, why I didn't. Not necessary. This is what love is. You don't have to explain yourself. And when you have to explain yourself, then that means he has to explain himself. And you get in this whole thing of I'm right, you're wrong, or why am I right, why you shouldn't be blaming me. Lisa says, thanks, John. It's really helpful. Thank you, Lisa. Timing matters as much as words. An apology given too fast can feel dismissive. And that's a real key factor there. It's like if your partner is talking and, if she just, when she's done, that's when you apologize. Just stay quiet until she's talking. For a guy, generally, he's not going to talk a whole lot. But if he does, don't apologize as an interruption. See, this is what men will say. Okay, I'm sorry. Can you just shut up? That's really what she'll hear. And it's kind of like what he's saying. Could you just stop talking? And I can understand it. Sometimes a woman can just be talking about why you're wrong. Can you please stop? And this is another relationship dynamic that we all need to agree upon in our relationships, is that when things get a little emotionally charged, it's not allowed to bring in the past. Now, women tend to do this more, and then men will react by doing it. But it's that women's brains are more holistic. They'll, you start to have a conversation and you're not agreeing with each other. Then to defend yourself, you want to bring in the past. Like you always do this. This is like some kind of defense, which a man will immediately reject because there's never an always for anything. But what happens is we bring in the past and bring up things to justify our position, to justify our blame. And men, what you can, basically, once you start apologizing more for things, women will have less of a tendency and they can let it go. See, the whole key here is how men change. Men change women when you apologize for things. And women can let it go, from holding on to justifying why I'm upset with you. And so it's, I hear you. And then she wants to bring in, but in the past, you da-da-da-da-da-da. Then what you do is, we've agreed we're not going to bring into the past. Let's not go there. And as kind as you can do it, let's not go there. And now what you do, because sometimes people get really into pushing and arguing and everything like that, you always have the technique of we can take a time out. But there's another technique, which is simply called the assertiveness technique. Without raising your voice, without pushing, simply repeat the thing that you're saying, the boundary you're setting, whether it be a man or a woman. Let's not go there. Well, but let's not go there. And because you're not going to deviate from that phrase, you can stay calm, and that will work. It always works. It cannot not work because you're not getting upset. The only thing that makes arguments escalate is when two people get upset. And if you're not getting upset and you're not judging them and criticizing them back, and you only judge and criticize when you're afraid. So if you just stay calm, this is it. You stay calm by just saying, let's not go there. We've agreed not to go into the past. We've agreed not to go back. We've agreed let's not go there. It's a simple thing. Let's not go there. And then it comes, let's take a time out. I need to think about that. That's one of my favorite ones. I just need to think about it. And another one is, another great technique is, all right, I hear you, and I got to go to the bathroom. And then just get out of the space. I got to go to the bathroom. And I was telling a men's only seminar once I was teaching. And one guy said, I've tried that. She'll follow me into the bathroom. And when I say that, that's a woman following a man. And also men can follow women, not necessarily in the bathroom, but if you take a time out, they want to keep going at you because we get into these crazy states when we're in a stress state. And we will have less of a tendency to ever get to that place if we have more apologies, understanding the importance of apology. Now, here's a point that I really like. A real apology does not demand the other person to apologize as well. That changed my whole life, that knowing. See, after a few years of being married to Bonnie, I said to her, why is it I'm always apologizing? You never apologize. And it was true. I mean, that was a never. She never apologized to me. And so I asked it sincerely, and she answered sincerely. She said, when I was a little girl growing up, I was the oldest sister, and anything my brothers did that was wrong, it was always my fault. And my mother and there was nothing I could do that was okay. I was always blamed for everything. And if I was to say to you, John, because you're so important to me, your love is so important to me. If I was to say I'm wrong, and you looked at me like my mother and said, you are wrong, you're bad. If you agreed with me, yes, you're bad, it would destroy me. And she had tears coming out of her eyes. This was real pain inside of her, the terror of admitting, of me saying she was bad or she was wrong and whatever. And it wasn't until later in life that she understood that she could apologize. I'll even share something a little deeper. It really wasn't until the day before she died. We were at the hospital, and the doctor said, you've got a couple of days, that's the most. And we couldn't even put infusions in her. We couldn't do anything. She was frail, and she was dying. And I was trying to be so hopeful, and it just didn't work. And she had cancer, and all throughout her body and everything. And then I was just so sorry. I said, I'm just so sorry, honey. I couldn't save you. I couldn't save you. And that's when she said, no, John, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And don't feel bad. You're my hero. I always remember that. You can see it touched me very, very deeply. And it was also a moment where she felt, I think after the 9 months of my completely stopping everything and taking care of her during that time, that she really felt so deeply loved that she could say that she's sorry and felt totally safe doing it. So hopefully, learning these skills of apologizing can help us not have to go to that length. But the point of where it helped me is that day when she shared those feelings with me. I said, okay, honey, you never have to apologize to me. I know that inside you feel guilty. And she says, yes, I feel it a lot. So you don't have to, you can trust that I'm feeling it inside. I said, okay, I never demand an apology from you. And that freed me from this idea that I could have gotten into, and a lot of people get into, which is, well, I'm not going to apologize till you apologize first. I'm not going to admit I'm wrong unless you admit you're wrong. And it's the bigger person that says, I was wrong, and it creates the space and the safety for somebody else to say that they're wrong as well. So a real apology doesn't require the other person to apologize back. Here are a few more, which is, you're right, I was wrong, and I'm working on it. Simple as that. You're right. Everybody wants to be right. She says something, you're right, I was wrong, I'm working on it. And then don't explain. Don't justify. Explaining just affirms that you're afraid, and it gives validity to your fear that you're not good enough. Instead, just know that, hey, I'm loved. I trust I'm being loved. My partner will love me. The other one is the apology precedes the explanation and not the other way around. Sometimes what we do is we have to explain ourselves. And then after this big explanation, like, well, the reason I'm late is because of this and this. The reason I forgot is because of this, and I'm sorry. By producing the whole explanation, it defeats the apology. You just said you don't need the big explanation unless you apologize and they say, would you help me understand why you were late? Then it's fine. Otherwise, leave it, be space. Oh my gosh, I remember this as such a big question I had, which was in some movies where, it would always be kind of like the man is being accused of something by the woman, and the man doesn't explain himself. It was a Clint Eastwood movie, I think it was. But the manly man doesn't feel the need to defend. He doesn't explain himself, particularly if the person's in a place where they're not going to hear the explanation. But it was kind of like a Greek tragedy that if you just knew what was really going on that day for him, you'd understand. Why doesn't he just tell you? Why doesn't it tell you? And part of why you don't tell it is because the other person won't hear it. Because when you explain, often the person is, if they're upset, they can't hear it. Remember, if you're upset, your brain is not functioning in a normal way. You can't hear the good. You only, get defensive back. So the apology needs to precede the explanation and then leave the explanation out. Don't have the explanation why you did something and then say you're sorry. It doesn't work that way. Another thing you can do is you can say, I'm so sorry, or I want to apologize. You didn't deserve that. Powerful. It's just a powerful way to affirm your partner's worthiness. And silence after the apology is the way to do it. Now, I'm so sorry, and then you go into the reason why. Don't go into the reason why. Just let there be silence. And you don't have to talk so much about that. I'm so sorry I did that, said that. Well, why did you do that? Well, and then you can slowly give an answer if necessary, but don't ever offer it unless somebody is truly wanting to know. Help me understand that better, which is a great phrase we've talked about. Another one of the magic phrases for men, when you don't know what to do when a woman's upset, you basically encourage her to talk more rather than resist. Because when somebody's talking and you just want them to get to the point, you want to be done with it, it actually puts a pressure on them to talk more because they don't feel heard. So patience is golden in that case. And you're, just setting your mind. I always set my mind. It's always going to take a little bit longer than I think it should. And just create the space for her to feel no pressure. Patience is the key. So those are well, there's another one, which is when you apologize, you're also revealing a vulnerability, and you're trusting that that person's not going to use it against you. And this is where women, you want to bring out the best in a man. You apologize. You're affirming, I'm trusting you. Everything I've given in all my talks, it's always about men showing you care, women showing that you trust. When you ask for help, you're showing I trust. Now, I'm about to finish up today, but I want to share, I could do a whole talk on this, but I'm just going to do it short. One of my clients said to me, John, you have to realize that for some women, they're already asking for so much more. And then you're telling them they need to ask for more. It can really support someone going too far. There's a whole balance to how to ask and not ask too much. So you have to sense, if you feel your partner's fatigued or exhausted, you can't ask for more, okay? But if you're the woman that a lot of my work is about, is women are way on their male side, they're in a place of not asking. Now they can find balance by learning to ask. Some women are already on their female side, that'd be they're overly sensitive, and they ask a lot. And you have to not ask so much. So there's always finding the balance of how much to ask for. And you will always ask for too much if you're not getting enough support from women and enough support for yourself, not taking the time you need for yourself. A big part of women's cycle is, if you're still cycling, the 5 days before your period really needs to be where you do things not out of obligation. And of course, when women are stressed, they're feeling, I have to do this, and they're feeling this obligation. They have to give more than they're getting. And so particularly to make progesterone, your stress goes up when you don't make enough progesterone if you're a woman, and those 5 to 6 days before ovulation, before your period. It's before ovulation, the 5, 6 days before ovulation, that's when your estrogen has to go high. And when your estrogen goes high, that's where your brain starts looking at, okay, what do I not have? When your estrogen is at 5 days after your period, your brain is kind of like, yeah, I got what I need. I can do what I want to do and whatever, everything seems fine. But then 5 days before ovulation, your brain goes into another state, which is the state of I could get pregnant. And so if I could get pregnant, I need to have money. I need to have love and support. I need devotion. I need signals that I'm safe. So your brain goes into, okay, what do I have? What do I don't have? And so it's very confusing for men. Thank you, Lisa, for all the words of wisdom. Yeah, these are like jewels. They're just so wonderful to have this insight so we can start seeing why our culture is going in the wrong direction, to go in the right directions. For system correct, we need more source energy. We need more love. We need more wisdom. We need more understanding. And it's that understanding that will bring men and women back together to create homes of children. So you're not sending your children off to teachers. By the way, I'm really against our school system today. It's really messed up. It's all become very political. It's all based upon a false history and a whole ideas of separating the races. And what we need to do is have an education which is not exposing your family values to the values of their teachers, which today are not always your values. You know, there was a study in Chile when they started introducing school system where children are no longer with you all day, but they're with some other person who has different values. Not only could the teacher not have the values, but usually it's the most dysfunctional child on the playground that everybody has to submit to. And so you get the values of that child who brings home the dysfunction of his family, and your children are influenced by the wrong people. The only way to save you from that is, we're big movement now is homeschooling, neighborhood schooling, and so forth, realizing that children are incredibly genius. They don't need all of that education. They don't. They will develop quite easily through reading books and learning to read as you read to them. It's all a very automatic process. And you support their curiosity. And you can have teachers, of course, but they're teachers where you're involved in the process more. So what they found in Chile, as soon as they sent kids to school, there were no gangs, and then suddenly there were gangs. Everything went downhill, and we see it in our society, sending your kids off to school, and oh my gosh, sending your kids to preschool. I mean, I don't mean to make people feel guilty. We can just talk about what the ideal thing is. 7 years, that child should be with mom at home. Mother at home is the ideal. That's the ideal. And if you want a government to help, the government would give you incentives to take the money that they want to give you to send to the preschools, give that money to the mother who's staying at home with her kids. Okay, that's to be the whole thing. It should be they have the influence of the mother, but they don't want the values of the family to go into the children. They want their values, their whole thing about, I don't want to go into the whole thing, but basically it's communistic thinking that everybody should be the same. This whole idea of equity means we all have the same as everybody else. No, it's not reality. Nobody gets the same as everybody else. If you slough off and don't work, you're going to get less. If you're sick, you're going to get less. And therefore, if that's the case, we want to help you. We want to help you to survive, to be healthy and whatever, give you the support you need. Even for criminals, I'm completely against the criminal system where they actually torture people. Right now, there's 2 guys that are being put in jail. I don't agree with all their stuff, but the law is so corrupt and they haven't even proved guilty, and they put them in the worst cells you can put somebody in. You're starving them, you're punishing them, you're not letting them sleep, you're torturing them, and they haven't even been gone to trial. You can't do that. This is not America. This is the totalitarian government. It's going on right now. It's not good. And so how do we change it? Well, we're all just listening to a talk on relationship, but it goes into your consciousness. That's all. Just to be more conscious of the injustices that are going on today. When I grew up, I didn't see the world as unjust. We were unaware of that. Now, with the internet and everything, we're learning how unjust the world is. And if you're someone who can do something about it directly, do it. But if there's someone, I'm doing my lane of life, but I want to be aware of the injustice around me. And then just become aware of what would be fair. What would be fair is you don't lock people up in horrible jail cells ever. First of all, punishment is not the key. You re-educate them. You separate them from society because they're a danger to society, but you try to treat them in a way that re-educates them to become a better person. And for some can't become a better person. They just have to stay in a place where they can't hurt anybody. That's it. And we already spend so much money on it anyway. Why don't we do it in a nice way? I have a sort of a personal thing with this because I used to teach at San Quentin and everybody loved me. And so because they're having a good time and they enjoyed my talks, they kicked me out. And the warden said, because we don't want you here because they want you to be here. They're here to be punished. They're not here to have a good time. That was amazing. Now, I know not all wardens are that way today, but that's a big business. They don't want them. They want more criminals to come back. The guys I coached never went back. They actually all became drug counselors, alcohol counselors, because they learned how easy it is to transform if you have a good trainer. Once, our Mars Venus coaches, for example, almost all of them became Mars Venus coaches because they were coached by a Mars Venus coach. And they saw that, wow, you can change somebody's lives with information. And I recommend you to do that. And if you don't want to actually make a business out of coaching, go to Mars Venus Coaching and see that we have a 6-week course, which is really learning how to use my material with a whole structured course, transform your life with this coaching program where you can coach others, so you can coach yourself, you have better relationships. It's a leadership program because we're always leading others in the direction of fulfilling our needs as well as their needs, a win-win situation. So that's another offering that we have is at the marsvenuscoaching.com. And then, of course, my website, marsvenus.com, has a free class for people to take. Our most popular class is you pay, but it's a 6-week training. It's all these videos and a whole thing. And it's called Understanding Men, for women only. And there's one for women to balance their hormones called the you time, we time system, which is how to find your me time, how to nurture yourself. That's your relationship with yourself. So you have a foundation of happiness. And then we have another one, which is Secrets of Great Sex, which both men and women will tend to take. It's a fun class to take. If you don't want to take the class, at least read my book, Mars, Venus in the Bedroom. This is the best course I ever took. And the community is amazing. Thank you so much for talking about Lauren's class, which is, Understanding Men. We took this, we spent a whole year editing. She wrote it, and then we have our editing sessions, father-daughter, and she would not put anything out until I looked at it because I had the life experience that she didn't have. And just as a sweet father-daughter story, one day I said to her, honey, I got bad news. And she said, what is it? I can't improve this. She said, no, Dad, I know you can. Because she knows I'm a little lazy. I'll let things slide. And she knows that if she says, now tell me how that could be better, something will come out. Again, it's the male, female. Women point out the problem. Men come in with the solution. And not that women can't solve problems or men don't see problems, but it's our male and female sides, and we want to find that right balance. Kaylor says, men respond better when you make everything into a small deal. Yes, brilliant, Kaylor. This is one of John's magic statements. Say, it's not a big deal. So when you make a request to a guy or you're upset about something with a guy and you want to tell him something, you just say, now this isn't a big deal, but this is what I would like. This isn't a big deal. This is what I would like. Wow. Thanks for bringing that up, Kaylor. Well, listen, everybody, we've done 2 hours today. I'm so grateful for you joining in and sharing this and letting people know about this. If you're on YouTube, be sure to follow, and then you make sure you get to hear the talks I give. One other thing I'd just like you to be aware of. Last night, I was just watching Dave Asprey, Asprey, on YouTube, and there's one from 3 weeks ago, which is an interview with me. And I forget the name of the interview, but I think if you just do Dave Asprey, John Gray, it will come up. It's a good, really, really good interview, and I think you'll enjoy it very, very much. It's a lot about, I was so entertained by it, okay? It went everywhere, but a lot about sex and different things like that, and supplements and relationships, and what can men do? Because, whenever I do these interviews with some men, they'll bring up their own issues. So I was doing a little counseling and coaching for Dave, which was very bold of him and humble of him when he's got this big following and whatever. But we had good 86,000 people watched it, and I think you'll really enjoy it as well. So, and if you're on my list, and again, if you go to marsvenus.com, there's an option to join our mailing list. And if you join our mailing list, we will send that out to you, the link to that. Ken just said he would do that. And I think as another thing, what we're planning to do is to with our newsletter is to send these talks out, but also a list of points at the different times. So if you're more interested in one point than others, you'll be able to capture those points. So it's pretty easy for us to do using AI to summarize my talks into different points, and it will take you to that part of the video. So that's something we're working on. If that's something you'd like, let me know right now by putting in a 1. So if you're listening, if you can just put a 1 into the feedback chat, we'll know that you're interested in that. You can hit 1. And I don't know if all of you know how to do that, but you have to be in a chat and you hit 1. So I'm not seeing any 1s, but so maybe we went too long today. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for joining me. It's been a real pleasure to be with you. Let me just double check this. Am I getting, here we go. Yes, now we're getting a bunch of 1s. I just wasn't able to see on my screen. Okay, thank you all for joining me, participating. It's always a pleasure to be with you, and have a great day. And remember to say, I'm sorry, I was too tough, I was too critical, I apologize. Done deal, no explanation, no fear. That is going to build up the love and the trust in a relationship. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great day.
Thank you for watching Q&A with Dr. Gray. Please share this out with all of your friends and family across all social media platforms. And be sure to tune in every Tuesday at 11 a.m. PST and 2 p.m. EST.